The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Earnestly podcast here, coming to you on Thursday, August 20th, 2020, on a muggy Thursday evening. Summertime is coming to an end soon. Hopefully soon, could mean sooner. I'm getting tired of this heat. I'm so tired of this Florida heat, man. And not just the sun, it's the humidity is just killing me, man. Like, can't enjoy anything, can't go outside, I feel like I'm melting, you know? And you think you're living here for 30 plus years that you get used to it. Not really, you know. It makes me want to leave this state, honestly. But anyway, how you guys doing? This is actually the first solo pod we've done actually in almost a month, about a month actually. That's crazy, actually. And that's probably a lot of reasons why for that. Well, number one, we had a nice little run of podcasts with other guests over the course of last month. Some of the regulars, of course, you know, the Kyle Nash of the world, of course, Mark Francois, talking about politics, whatnot. We had Danny Thompson recently on the last episode, previewing the NBA playoffs for the bubble. Good friend Ray Moraldi came on a couple times. We actually did a nice little watch along about a week or two ago, when we watched along Survivor Series 1996, the match between Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And we're gonna keep doing those in the future, obviously, those kind of episodes. Watch along episodes, and not just wrestling. We may do like episodes of favorite TV shows. Like there's one actually we're going to plan on doing probably on a Saved by the Bell episode. I don't know when we're going to do it. It may be anytime soon, maybe soon. Who knows? But one of the reasons why I haven't done a solo pod in quite a while was that most of the last month I had nothing to talk about really on a personal level. At least weeks ago, I didn't have anything to talk about. Also, I've been trying to kind of just coast a little bit, not overwork, not overdo it. You know, we're still at work here. My wife and I still at work. You know, trying to make ends meet, of course, and pay bills and all things of that nature. But recently, I've hit a wall, a mental wall, and I feel like now, and it's funny. Like I don't want to call it a midlife crisis, not something of that ilk, but I feel like especially the last couple of days, it's been noticeable. I've actually hit a wall. I feel like I'm at a crossroads of my life. Now, I'm not. Let me be clear. I'm not suicide number one. I'm not unhappy. I don't. There's parts of me that does not feel fulfilled in a lot of ways. And it's not that I'm happy with my marriage or with my kids. I love both my wife and my kids to death. That's not even the problem. But I do feel like, there are parts of me that are kind of unfulfilled in a way where, you just feel like, I spoke this in the past on the show before, where sometimes the lifestyle you have, like in my case, being so dedicated to being a husband and a father, and kind of that being your main thing, that sometimes you feel like you're drowning. And not that, and you don't even notice it till you notice it. In my case, we just go every day as is. We continue every day like the same. We go to work. We accrue the hours we need necessary to work. We pay our bills. We do the occasional dinner here. We spend time with the kids. We try to educate them. We try to, obviously raise them, do the things we do as parents to continue to raising our children. And that's pretty much rinse and repeat. And pretty much the early stages of their lives, especially the first 12, 13, 14 years, that's really all you're doing. And we have two boys, 7 and 3. And we love them to death. They're my world. But today I hit a wall. Today it was one of those days where everything they were doing was annoying me. And it wasn't like they weren't doing anything out of the ordinary. They would just be themselves. And I feel bad even like complaining about it, because they are, they're just doing what they love. They want my attention. They want me to, my oldest son loves playing cards with me all the time. We play cards, we play Uno, we play Crazy Eights all the time. And, my youngest one wants to spend time with me, and and just play with him, wrestle with him a little bit and all that, and I do so. I mean, I'm not going to say and say I don't. I still spend time with him. Obviously, I'm still a very involved father. I'm very proud of that fact. But I feel like I just hit a wall recently. Today, it kind of sort of came out a little bit. I don't know if it's the job. I mean, I love my job. Obviously, I've been there 17 years. I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. I don't, none of that. But again, it's the rinse repeat thing. Do we need a shakeup? I think leading up to this too, my wife has had some personal, things. I'm not gonna say it on here, but her and I have been talking a lot about things, about our life in the next 10 years, and should we do this? Should we consider moving down the road? Should we, buy a home? Should we, how to plan out kids' futures, and all those things that are very important. And I feel like all those things compiled. Everybody has their own personal issues too. My wife has her own personal things and whims she needs to be addressed, and I do too, and so do my children. And I think a lot of those things I've been taking on a lot in the last couple of days, last couple of weeks, and I think it's compounded on me, if you will, compounded on me. And I think it came out really more so in just me being a little more edgy today than I ever have. I'm not particularly edgy at home. I'm really, with my kids, pretty positive. I'm very playful. We always we wrestle, we watch TV together, we have ice cream together, we eat dinner together. Especially the nights when my wife works late, we're bonded. We bonded. Like today, we watched the Heat game, the Heat Pacers game, playoff game. Heat win again, 2-0 in the series now over Indiana. Yay, let's go Heat. And they went to the pool for a couple hours, and that was fun. But I don't know, this hit a wall recently. I know it was the age. I just turned 40 in May. I don't know what it is. It's just maybe it's also COVID too. Maybe the fact that even though we are sort of back to normal in a way, my wife and I, that we're back to work and we're working normal hours, even before, in comparison to we're working the same hours we did before COVID started, before the pandemic and we locked down. So nothing's really changed on our end in terms of that. But everybody else around us, not being able to see a lot of family too, I think it's also hurt. Now early in the week I got to see my cousin, his wife, and his daughter, which was great. We had dinner with them. Thank you, Ellis, by the way, for covering dinner. I appreciate that. You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate that. Dr. Ellis Christian. But and it was great to see him because he was talking to me about the fact that even though we haven't seen each other in a long time, that it's good to know that family is still within reach. Like, it's a mental thing. Like, if you know that your mom or your cousins or your brothers are within an hour or two, it's actually comforting. And I agree with him. Like, he lives 45 minutes from where I'm at North. My mom, I'm grateful for my mom, who lives 10 minutes from my house. My mother-in-law lives 10 minutes from our house as well too. And parts of my family doesn't have that. Unfortunately, doesn't have that luxury right now. My sister, who lives in Connecticut, she's away from the family. Her mom's in New York. Our dad is down here, obviously, so that and they're not going to fly down here because of the risk of COVID. My cousins are either in Tennessee or North Carolina or in Trinidad, for that matter. I think a lot of folks are going through a lot, and I'm feeling for them too. I think also too. I'm a pretty empathetic person, and having my cousins admit recently that they're going through a lot. They're missing being around us and not be able to do our annual cousins weekend this year because of COVID. It's wearing on you. It's wearing on everybody. Wearing on me. Mentally. Because you miss that. Yes, we have Zoom, and yes, we have FaceTime, and we can always check in on group text, but there's nothing better than being there physically, being able to hug your family, being able to, just be there in the moment, being there with your kids and appreciating the moment, appreciating that, the growth. We're pretty tight-knit, especially on my dad's side, we're a pretty tight-knit family in terms of our, siblings and our cousins. We're very tight-knit. And I think it's really hard on us, on all of us. So I think a lot of that too also compounded with me as well, with me feeling down in the last couple of days. I didn't even want to do a podcast tonight. Like, I was just not feeling it. Like, I don't want to force it, but the podcast, sometimes at times, sometimes it feels like a chore. And once stuff feels like a chore, I don't want to do it because I enjoy this. This is my escape, because of the nature of my life, having to be responsible and having to take care of kids, being a husband and make sure things are in order. The podcast is the one thing I do have that's kind of a release. And when it starts feeling like a chore sometimes, it's like, I gotta step back. I don't want to do that. And I love doing this show. I love being able to bring guests on and friends on and, people from the media on and even be able to do like a show like this today and be personal, And I think this next couple of shows, I'm probably going to dive into that a little bit. Some more of my personal, maybe more personal stuff going on around with me. But, yeah, just want to get it out there, I just want to get out there. Another thing, too, also, especially that's been bothering me, I think it's probably adds to stress, is my oldest son, Eli, starts school next week, Monday. And out the gate, he's going to be doing virtual. Now, we just found out that we had an open house this week with the school, and school hours are going to be the same. He's going to be going to school from 8 to 3 on virtual. Now, I'm not necessarily worried about him necessarily doing it. I think he can handle it. He's a very strong-willed kid. He actually loves school. I think he'll be able to lock in for the most part for 7 hours on the computer or whatever it may be. I'm more worried about our youngest one, Logan, rather, being in the house as a distraction, and we have to now figure out ways and be creative with the ways of how to keep the kids separated for those hours until he's done with school. And this is the norm for the time being, and I'm really upset about this too because even though I think my son Eli can get through the 6-7 hours necessary, I do think it's ridiculous to think that to expect 7-year-olds, to actually sit and lock in and just do schooling in a way where okay, well, we know you're home, but you have to dress in uniform still. You have to, lock in for 8-7 hours and on virtual. I think it's ridiculous personally, and obviously the government's pushing this. My son goes to charter school too, especially, so it's one of those things where we're finding out that this is not even the decision of the school. It's the government saying that they have to do this to to maintain whatever requirements it may be. Which is, again, ridiculous. I'll be honest, I don't think this is going to work out. I think, I told my wife, and we both agree, that because we're considering homeschooling, we're considering, probably going to public school who are a little more lax with this situation. We decided that we're going to do a test run next week, see how he does the first week of school, figure out our schedules. My wife had to modify her schedule a bit for work too to make sure to facilitate this. This is going to be tough. Because my wife could be both work, and on top of that, now we gotta be there, with him, make sure the kids are separated, make sure homework's done, and still be able to function as a family. And this is a challenge. So we're gonna wait a week. We're gonna see how this goes for the first week, and if it doesn't work out, we're gonna probably end up trying to homeschool him or something. Because I don't know, I'm feeling very down about this situation. It's very stressful. It feels stressful already. We haven't even started it yet, and I don't know. I'm talking to other parents, or, friends of ours who have kids and going through the same thing, and they're all stressed out too. It's just something right now that this COVID era where we're in right now. It's trying to get back to reality a little bit, but this is, I don't know, man. I'm trying to be positive about this thing with school. With my son, but I don't see this working out really long term, and we don't know when he'll be able to return to school physically. And I'm not going to let him return to school physically until this thing's in the rearview mirror. I'm not going to put my son's safety at risk. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll keep updated. Obviously, I'll keep you guys updated on the podcast how it's going, but I'm not feeling positive about it. I'm trying to stay positive about the school thing, but I just don't think it's going to work out in the way that they think it's going to work out. I really do see someone stepping in and probably modifying this thing, but I think after a week, if this doesn't work out, we're going to have to consider homeschooling him for at least for a year. So we'll see what happens there. This week is the Democratic National Convention. Obviously, Kamala Harris. If you listen to the podcast with me and Mark the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about all the lead ups to the election this year, and we do this every 4 years. Mark and I have been doing this, And Kamala Harris obviously is the VP running mate for Joe Biden. They've had the convention this week. As we speak, this is the end of the final night of the convention. I really haven't watched any. To be honest with you, I watched this in bits and pieces. I have not watched the convention like in a way I used to always watch conventions. I watch both conventions actually every 4 years. I watch both Republican and Democratic conventions. This year, obviously because of the nature of the situation, it's all virtual and this and that. It's not really enticing to me. So I watch all the bits and pieces of things. I watched Michelle Obama's speech, which was very inspiring. I'm going to watch Barack Obama's speech later on when I get a chance to. Obviously Joe Biden's acceptance speech, say for accepting a nomination for a Democratic nominee for president. I haven't watched Kamala Harris's acceptance speech also for that straight too. I'll get to that probably over the weekend. It's weird. This whole thing's weird. We're living in such a weird time now, obviously, and right down top our government, people with influence, having to adjust too. We're not the only ones, But I haven't watched much of the convention, so I don't have much talking points about it. I think these last 2.5 months, I think it was 74 days to the election, I think, something like that. I don't know. It's going to be fascinating because there's no campaigning involved here. We have the next really big thing coming up is the debates, which won't start till October. So it's all this is just strange. All this is just weird. But in lieu of this, staying on politics, of course, in lieu of all this, one of my favorite shows returned this last week. Showtime's The Circus actually returned last Sunday. I've been talking about the show for the last couple of years now. I've enjoyed this show since the inaugural year. They did it in 2016. Obviously, The Circus covers the process of the lead up to the election. It covers pretty much the political scape, nonpartisan, of course, which I love. And it's funny too because even they have to adjust now with the way they do their show. Having to do everything remote. Because the show is made up of Alex Wagner and Mark McKinnon and Mark Hallman and then they get together and they follow some of the biggest names in politics and this and that and review of the week and all that, and they're doing it now remote. So and they're all separated too in different segments of the country. So. But I thought they did a good job in the first episode. I thought they did a really good job at covering Kamala Harris's the pick for VP on the Democratic side. They did a good job at that, I think. And we'll see how that goes this week now with the convention. But I'm glad the show's back. I enjoyed the show. I think I actually need to catch up on season 3 and 4. I saw the first 2 seasons, and I thought the show ended, but apparently they kept going. So I think at some point when I get a chance to lock in some alone time to watch some of the old episodes from like a year or 2 ago, I'll check it out. So that's just that. Some wrestling news real quick before we get to the SummerSlam preview. That I was actually supposed to do with G.W. Grass today on the show, but we had planned to do the preview actually earlier today. I had told him that this is all depending on my youngest son Logan taking a nap. You guys know these shows are all done around my kids' schedules. I'm recording a show now because my kids are asleep. I had a plan in place to take my kids to the pool earlier, and then get home in time to put my kid for a nap, Logan down for a nap, and then I'll do the podcast. Unfortunately, the weather changed things down here. It didn't really rain that much, but there were enough clouds around the area that it forced us to hold off on going to the pool earlier. So because of that, I told G, well, let's try to do later tonight. I didn't hear from him, unfortunately. And so as a result, we'll just have to. I'll have to do the preview in a couple minutes, and whatnot. But yesterday, NXT had to force themselves yesterday. Wednesday Night Wars, because of the NBA playoffs. And AEW Dynamite is going to be on this coming Saturday. So NXT had the floor to themselves, and they got a good rating. Obviously, the biggest rating they've gotten. I think since they went to USA last year, I think it was like 824,000 viewers last night. Now, to me, that feels a little disappointing because typically that's the number that AEW gets every week. typically around between 900,000 and 700,000. And the assumption was that NXT would probably get at least a quarter to half of the AEW audience, because there's no AEW content on, really. Last night, and and again, it's a good number for NXT, but it feels disappointing, just from where I'm standing at. So I don't know. I enjoy NXT anyway, so I'm not gonna sit and bust their balls, because I do enjoy their stuff. I don't know. In fact, I think this stuff's probably as good, not better, than Raw and SmackDown. It's probably the WWE's best brand, in my opinion, still. But this is me. So yeah, it's a little disappointing, but it is what it is. As for SummerSlam coming this weekend, I'm actually looking at right now the matches. I'll do a quick preview on some picks here real quick, if I can get to the matches real quick. If you give me one quick second. All right, I found the complete card for SummerSlam this coming Sunday night. I was going to do NXT TakeOver 30's preview, but I have not watched the recent NXT episode yet, so I think I'll wait till I watch that. So I think I don't want to give out predictions on a show. I haven't watched the entire show yet for NXT. So, by the way, WWE, if you saw the news, they are also they made an agreement with the Amway Center, home of the Orlando Magic. They're gonna be doing all their shows going forward, Raw and SmackDown and pay-per-views, doing a residency at the Amway Center, in the arena. So, and they're gonna have what they call it, the Thunderdome. Basically, what they have now is it's gonna be inside a bigger arena with virtual screens that go around the arena, with fans be able to be on the screens, of course. I'm not sure they'll have fans or a smaller group of fans allowed in the building itself. I know AEW. There's a rumor now about AEW actually doing the next, not this Dynamite on Saturday, but the following Saturday, next week. I think it's Thursday. They're gonna be allowing fans 10% capacity of fans to be in the arena at the Daily up in Jacksonville. We'll see what happens there. Okay, let's go this real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Predictions for SummerSlam this week. I'm looking forward to this SummerSlam, actually. Really, really good card. Let's go here first. This is a hair versus hair match between Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. This is actually a really good feud going on right now. I like Mandy to win this match, to be able to cut Deville's hair off, because then I believe after that, I think they're gonna have a program for Sonya after this, being bald. By the way, prayers to Sonya Deville, and I don't know if you heard a story about Sonya Deville being her house got robbed, and there was some upset fan that got into her house last week, and thankfully she was able to call the police. Scary situation, but thank God it worked out really good. Worked out well for her, and she was safe, whatever. But yeah, I see Mandy Rose actually winning this match, actually, and cutting off Sonya's hair. And I think they have something nice for Sonya going forward in the program. She both of these girls, especially Sonya, I think she is somebody that's going to be on the rise moving forward with WWE. All right, U.S. Championship on the line between Apollo Crews and MVP. I don't really care about this feud necessarily. I do like the thing that MVP is doing with the program. He's doing with obviously with the Hurt Business, him and Bobby Lashley, and who's also is it Sheldon Benjamin, I think it is. We'll see what happens there. I like Apollo Crews to hold on to the title here. But like I said, I like what the Hurt Business faction, what they're doing is pretty good. All right, Raw Tag Team Championship on the line between Street Profits and Andrade and Angel Garza. With Zelina Vega in the corner of Andrade and Garza. I just Street Profits though to maintain. This has been a pretty good feud also too between these two teams. There was a little swing a couple weeks ago where Montez Ford was poisoned, which we assumed it was with Zelina Vega. There's a video on the last Raw showing her putting something in her drink. I don't know. It's a good feud. I like it. I think Profits retain the titles here. Let me see here. This one I'm looking forward to watching, definitely. The street fight between Seth Rollins and Dominic Mysterio, son of Rey Mysterio. This is a really good feud. I've been enjoying this feud between Rey and Seth, and it's now gone to his son. I think Dominic makes this match interesting, but I think Seth holds on. But I think Dominic is on the way up. I think Dominic will be somebody that will be Used obviously in a big way going forward, but I can't see Seth Rollins win this match. Honestly, look, unless some Gaga involved, I see Seth win this match, but I think it's gonna be a close match. Maybe Murphy gets involved in this match, and then something happens there. Now, SmackDown Women's Championship between Bayley and Asuka. Asuka will be fighting twice at SummerSlam. She'll be fighting for both the SmackDown and Raw Women's Championship. Not sure which match goes first. I mean, the idea is they think that the match, whoever between Sasha and Bayley goes first against Asuka, you figure Asuka win that match. Part of me wants to pick Asuka win this match, but Bayley's been phenomenal. Bayley's been one of the MVPs, honestly, of this COVID era. I mean, I've been saying on social media, I'm a Bayley stan. I love what you're doing. I'm gonna pick Asuka. I'll pick Asuka here. Because Bayley's had the title for over a year now. And I think this will probably start the feud between Bayley and Sasha going forward, depending on the direction. I think that the golden role models between Bayley and Sasha's faction will go probably to WrestleMania. We'll see. But I'm gonna take Asuka here. I think Asuka wins one of these matches. I think she'll take the belt. I think the logical thing is to take the belt off of Bayley first. Sasha's got the belt recently on Raw. So I'll go Asuka here against Bayley. As for the Raw Women's Championship, I think I'll take Sasha in that one. I think Bayley gets involved in that one. Sasha retains the Raw Championship. And I think Asuka will have the SmackDown Championship as well. All right, Universal Championship on the line between Braun Strowman and the Fiend Bray Wyatt. Interesting feud. Not really enjoying Braun Strowman's title reign here. I hope he loses his match to the Fiend. But it has got a little interesting now too because of the Alexa Bliss angle in there. Last week, of course, there's an assumption that maybe Braun goes heel and the Fiend goes babyface. I don't know. Anyway, I like Wyatt winning this match because I don't see Braun Strowman retaining the title much longer. He's just a placeholder at this point. Especially the fact that Roman Reigns was supposed to be the champion, but because of Roman Reigns not being able to be right now involved because of COVID and him being at risk because of his cancer diagnosis that thankfully he got over, but it was too risky. So Braun is a placeholder champion, and I think Bray Wyatt wins this feud, wins this match here, and regains the championship after almost a year being without it. And finally, WWE Championship on the line between Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. Man, this Randy Orton build up has been phenomenal. Now I've said in the past already too, I have not watched Randy Orton's entire career. Of course, when he entered WWE is when I stopped watching it 18 years ago. Obviously, I know who he is, and I watched bits and pieces of his career. But watching it last year for the first time, and you could find yourself not cheering for Randy Orton because he could be a little one of those guys that's like whatever, he's good, but whatever. But then you find yourself appreciating Randy Orton in hindsight, and not just even in COVID. This entire year, he's been phenomenal. Like the feud with Edge, that was phenomenal. And now this Legends Killer mock, thing he's doing, that he's continuing now. Knocking out Ric Flair, knocking out Big Show, knocking out who was a Christian, and he got Shawn Michaels on this past Raw. It's making Drew McIntyre. If Drew McIntyre wins his match, it makes him look like $1 million. And the assumption was for weeks I would say, well, Drew's gonna win his match, obviously, right? Because Randy is trying to bring Drew to his level. But God, the more I look at his matchup, I'm thinking, well, I mean, Randy's got to win his match. I mean, he's a monster at this point now, And this will be his 14th championship, I believe. I think it's 14 if he wins this one. I would have said Drew up until probably a couple days ago, but I think there's a good chance Randy Orton wins the title. I think what I had Danny Thompson on the podcast this past Sunday. He said the logical answer is to have Randy win the title, have Drew chase it, and by the time we get back to the arenas next year, Drew will finally have his WrestleMania moment. Because remember when he beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania in April, there was no crowds there, so he had a chance to have that pop. The only pop he got was when he won the Royal Rumble back in January. So I'm gonna go Randy Orton here. I'm gonna go Randy here. I'm gonna change. I said I had Drew up until like probably yesterday, and I'm gonna go Randy now. So there is your SummerSlam preview. Solo edition. I would rather done this with somebody else instead, but it is what it is. Finally, NBA playoffs are around, and we're about 4 days in now in the NBA playoffs. Right now as I'm recording, the Lakers are beating the living hell out of the Blazers, so they bounced back in a big way. Is in the fourth quarter? I think the Lakers are up by 30. Actually, yes, about by 30. Takeaways for me, of course, like I said, the Heat up 2-0 against Indiana. Love it. I'm a Heat fan, so I love that, of course. I find myself rooting for the Rockets also. I don't know why. Like, I'm not a James Harden guy, but also I found myself rooting for James Harden also. I don't know why. Milwaukee, honestly, it's 1-1. They won tonight, but Milwaukee looks flawed. I think Milwaukee can be gotten by anybody in the East. I think Miami can get them in the East. I think Toronto can get them in the East. I think even Boston, if they play the cards right, but of course they have Gordon Hayward, so we'll see what happens there. I think the East is wide open. I don't think Milwaukee's a shoo-in to go to the finals, honestly. They've looked really flawed so far. What else? Toronto looks pretty good. They had a little scare against Brooklyn yesterday, but they took care of business. Utah should be up 2-0 against Denver. They split the first 2 games. Philadelphia, Brett Brown's done in Philadelphia. Boston's going to win the series most likely, in quick fashion. And the Mavericks, they split with the Clippers so far at 1-1. And Luka Doncic, I had a tweet a couple weeks ago saying asking whether or not he's a top 5 player, and a lot of people said no, not yet. Are we sure he's not a top 5 player now? Because he's been phenomenal in this series against the Clippers. Against the Clippers team that's been known for wing defense. Are we sure about that? Are we sure he's not a top 5 player? Because he sure as hell playing at one in the playoffs. So I do think the Clippers will win the series still. I had them in I think it was in 5 and 6. I think it was. Yeah. Not a bad first 4 days of the playoffs. I've actually really enjoyed it. So there's that. So I think that's about 30 minutes in this pod. That's good enough for this episode. I powered through it, and I'm happy for it. So again, I'm on Twitter at EJChristian7. You can of course download this podcast on any of the podcast platforms, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Google Podcasts. Any other podcast app, it's there. Earnestly Podcast. And until next time, love you guys. Take care. And until next time, see you.